Excited to welcome all of you to Achievers Voices, Writing Their Way Forward. This is a webinar where our Horizons Achievers program alumni will actually share their learnings and journeys after they did the writing and communication course. I'm very excited to share one piece of information that all three of us have actually continued their journey with us as HSP ambassadors, and they've been coordinating and collaborating with us for the last 1 year or so. So we're very excited to have them on board, not only as our alumni, but also as our ambassadors. Um, Before we get started, I want to give a little bit more context about the writing and communication course that I've been speaking of so far. So we're actually doing a fourth iteration of the course in the winters this year. And the dates are from December 20th to January 11th. It's going to be taught by Professor Arpita Das, who is a professor at Ashoka University itself, but she's also a founder and publisher of Yoda Press, which is her own publishing house. So she has a plethora of experience in publishing and editing, and she's actually worked with PhD students and master's students in fine tuning their college application essays for PhD applications to master's applications. And now she's been working closely with UG students as well. And this would be the first time that she would be opening up her learning space for high school students as well. So I'm personally quite excited to see what comes out of it. In this course, students will be getting the opportunity to learn from the professor and the teaching fellow Tane Sen, who we did a webinar with last month, who will be bringing their forces together to actually fine tune your own authentic voice. I think a lot of us do have to build this skill of learning how to talk about ourselves, and it's something that helps us throughout our lives. I wish I could say that at the end of submitting your college essay, that's where it gets done. But you'll always have cover letters to write and interviews to give, where learning how to impactfully speak of your experience makes a huge, huge difference. Um, yeah. And another thing that we want to be able to do is actually help you in walking away with a complete submission ready essay at the end of the course, where you've received feedback from Professor Anne Tane. One moment. I think I've moved ahead. And lastly, you'll also have the opportunity for extending your learning beyond the course ending, where you'll actually receive mentorship from Professor Arpita post the course ends, depending on your performance in the course itself. While I want to share a lot more about the impact of the course, I think the best people to share that are our panelists who are present with us today. So I'd like to now take the time to introduce all three of them. So Reeth is someone who's actually done two Horizons Achievers program courses with us. The first one that she did was the Writing and Communication course in 2024, post which she actually published her own individual poetry book and was also honored as the Young Adult Author of the Year. She's also given her ICSE 10th grade exams where she secured an All India rank of fifth. So I think that's a huge, huge achievement, and we're very excited and also so proud to be able to have her as a HAP alumni. Then the second person that we have on the panel is Elena, who's actually published a book of poetry herself and received the 21st Century Emily Dickinson Award. She's also in the process of getting a short story published with Scholastic India, which is going to be a part of their Writers Academy initiative. And she's also qualified for the prestigious Albert Barrow Memorial Essay Competition, which is actually organized by CICSC. So I think that's a huge, huge feat to achieve by herself. And lastly, Anya did the course with us in 2024. And ever since she attended the course, I think she's had a personal project that she really wanted to work towards, which was writing her own book. And I'm very excited and thrilled to share that her poetry book was actually published nationwide in June 2025, this year itself. So we have two alumni joining us who are from the 2024 cohort, which is Reet and Anya. And we have Elena joining us from the 2025 cohort. So this has been a very recent experience for her. I'd like to now start the panel discussion by asking the first question. And I think that's the thing that's always on our mind, which is what made you sign up for the writing course? What was your motivation behind it? Was there a moment that you realized that I need a little bit of support or feedback with my writing? Perhaps, Elena, you could start us off with sharing your motivation.
So actually, I am currently in 12th grade, and so and since I did the Horizons Achievers course this summer, was already in 12th grade by then. And when I received news of the Horizons Achievers courses and I had a look through the courses, this one particularly caught my eye. For one, because I am very drawn to writing, I've been doing it for a while. And then I explored the details of the course and I thought this is a very interesting course and it's a very unique one. You don't often see courses like that where you actually have not only writing tips for college essays, but also insights into why those tips are important for the essays or how those essays then facilitate college admissions later. And I thought, well, writing is one of my strengths, and I have to apply this here to colleges across the country. So why not give it a try and see how I can use my strengths to my benefit? So that was what made me sign up.
That's great to hear. I think it's an evaluation of where you're at in your educational journey as well and trying to meet that need, which really shines through. Reet, perhaps you would like to share what was your motivation behind doing the course in 2024?
I'm gonna be honest. I've always been a writer, but I didn't exactly know how to write polished articles or essays. And it was mainly like grown up essays sort of scared me. Because college is a very stressful process, and essay is one of the most important parts of the entire application process. I follow all of these IB courses, and essay is your make or break. And that sort of scared me because if I didn't make it, everything would go in vain. So I knew I had to have a really good college essay, and I didn't really have the guidance I needed for that. And when I saw that this course was available, I took it up the first day I saw it, and it was so insanely helpful because it sort of taught you how to think about it in a completely different way. Like I completely changed my writing style after the course. Not all of my writing styles are particularly the ones used for like school and college and mainly essays. It was a really good experience because I was really, really stressed out before the course. I did not know how I was going to go on with my essay. I have 100 different ideas, but it was tough to put them into words. But the entire process of writing my essay throughout those 4 weeks and coming up to one final essay and the amount of guidance I got, it was insane. All of our essays were individually checked by the TA and the professor. So it was really helpful for me because I actually learned how to write properly. I knew how to think, but to put it down was a different thing altogether, which I feel this course did teach me. So
I think that's great to hear of how you also got personalized feedback, which may have been really helpful in your journey as well. I can see that Anya has been facing a little bit of challenges with internet. So we'll actually move forward to the next question and maybe circle back to her once she joins back in. Um, one thing that I saw as a common thread between both of your stories was that you all have been interested in writing for the longest time. But in some ways, you came to the course to be able to refine that skill, to really put that into practice and to bring that to a larger audience as well, right? Because while we are able to share it within our schools, we also want to be able to share it in diverse audiences, which is going to be people joining from all across India and the world, and also sharing it with faculty who's going to have a very different perspective on it. In terms of the college essay, I think a lot of the students actually have a very clear idea of what they want to write. But a challenge that we often face is like, I don't know where to start from. I can personally say that that was something that I struggled with the most. The first step was the hardest one. Looking at that cursor blinking in the document used to be very, very challenging. So was that something that was true for you as well? And how did you actually get past that? Was there something about the course that helped you with it? Perhaps having that community and people around you, or anything along those lines?
I mean, yeah, definitely, because I've typically, and I'm going to be very honest, I'm not a very planned or organized writer. Um, Usually, I just tend to sit with the laptop in front of me and let the creative spirit sort of flow through me and then, see what comes out onto that page. But then when it comes to a college essay, Uh, that often doesn't work because, for one, there is a time constraint within which you have to not just write the essay but fill out the rest of your application as well, which is a very time consuming process. And secondly, there's a lot of nerves associated with the activity because this is something which, as Reed said, makes or breaks our college application and sort of decides our future. So, what the course taught me, and which I felt was very interesting, was the idea that writing is actually not the most important part of the process. It's the planning, and not planning in a sense that you know exactly how many words, or at the very beginning you know exactly how many paragraphs you're going to have, but planning to actually, make a list of the points you want to include in your essay, to correlate those points to the effect you want them to have on the admissions officers who are going to be reading said essay, and making sure that they actually reflect the qualities which you want to be put across to the admissions committee. And so once you have that framework in place and you know that, all right, this is the pattern I'm going to follow, then the writing automatically falls in place, because then all you have to do is write according to the guidelines you've set for yourself. And then, of course, you refine it later, you check the word count and all of that. But this first step, which is the planning, becomes very crucial. So that was a very important thing which I learned during my time with the course.
Thank you so much for sharing the importance of planning as well, right? Because I think we primarily look at writing as a very creative process, but I think there's also a lot of discipline that needs to go behind it. That's why we've heard of so many famous writers who actually have daily schedules of waking up at 5 a.m. and going running and then perhaps moving towards writing. Reet, I would really like to hear your thought process on the same as well.
Um, I agree with everything Alina said. I would just sort of like to say that I was struggling with the same thing right now because I'm writing my college applications, and I did the course in 2024. And while I was the main part was I couldn't figure out how to start my essay. Like I knew what to write about. I had the idea. I knew how to link my subject to it, but I could not figure out the start for the life of me because the start is everything. Once you start, you get in the flow of it. But how to start is a major question. So I had a little diary that I wrote all of my notes in for the 2024 program, and I got that out and I went through all of my notes again. And the notes were so helpful, and I was thanking my 2024 self so much for those because I went through all of them and I kind of knew exactly where to start. One of the main things is that you can always edit your draft, right? It's not a final thing. You're not doing an on the spot essay for the college application, the first part. So you can always edit your essay. It does not matter how the first draft is because you will get a feel of you'll either like it or you won't like it. So you know what to edit, where you went wrong. But if you don't start, you're never going to know where you went wrong or what you want to fix. So even if your first draft is not primarily what you imagine, that's completely fine because it's not even going to be. You're going to do plenty of edits to that. You're going to want to sit down and figure out little intricacies, where that went wrong, what could be improved. So I would definitely say that it's not easy to start, but the main thing I did learn that you have to start, and you do end up improving over time. So even if you write you write one essay and it's not that good, that's fine. It's never going to be perfect at the first try. You have to keep doing it again until you find the essay, and you're gonna know once you've written the essay. Like it's gonna be obvious, it's gonna speak out to you, it's gonna call out to you. And one very important thing I learned was show not tell. So throughout the entire essays, before I was telling, I was, for example, if my essay was based on theater, I was telling that I've been the president for 2 years, or that I am motivated, or that I work a lot with the team. But that's now not how it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to show the fact. You're not supposed to tell the admission officers what you've done. Show it through experiences because it's going to be obvious. Once you pen down what you've actually done, your experiences, that's going to show your achievements too. So don't be focused too much on your achievements in your essay. It's more about who you are as a person. And if you do want to show your achievements, show them, don't tell them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd just like to quickly add to what Preet said because we were also told the same thing, to show, not tell. And we were also told that, if you just list the qualities you believe you possess in your essay, or if you use sentences like, I am disciplined, or as Reed said, I am motivated, then it comes off as a sort of boast about yourself. But then, if you actually subtly try to imply that by just listing your experience, it comes across as you come across as a very mature person who realizes that that experience is important for you and you've included that experience because you realize it has helped you grow and mature as a person.
I think that's an excellent point. It's been an age-old advice to show, not tell, which has been very helpful in writing all across. It's also something that we've found a lot of value in, that instead of just telling us who you are, if you're able to show it through the experiences by giving us a glimpse into what it has been like to spend the last 15 or 18 years trying to build something, that ends up being quite insightful. To catch Anya up, firstly, we're so glad to have you back. Tech issues are something that all of us come across, so that's completely fine. The question that we're discussing right now is how, a lot of the students tend to have a very clear idea or image of what they do want to write about. However, a struggle that they always encounter is where to start from. And I think that's something that I have personally related to, and Elena and Reeth have shared that that's something that was a challenge for them too. So we wanted to ask if that's something that's true for you as well. How did you end up going past that? How did the course help with that in any way, if it did?
Right. So, again, sorry for the disturbance before, but yes, that is something I struggled with. I've been an avid reader since the past 5 or 6 years, and I've always wanted to write my own book, whether it's a book of poetry or if it's like a storybook. And the thing is, I never knew where to start. Um, whenever I tried, I always got stuck, and then I kept editing what I'd written, and then I never even made it past the third or fourth chapter, which is why this course really helped me. It's also one of the reasons I joined this course. I thought I could learn a lot of things that can help me apply myself, not just go on with the thought process. And it did. So, one of the things I learned, as you guys discussed, was show, not tell. So, I was able to also get my thoughts in order. And that's kind of actually the most important thing I learned, that it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to not have everything, all your ideas implemented. But if you just get things in order, you do find a place to start with. And that is the advice I followed when I was writing my book. And I think it took me less than a month to write about 21 poems. And I think it's really, I have to give credit to the course for it.
I think your answer also resonates really well with what Reeth and Elena have had to say. That while we look at writing as a very creative, flowing process, I think there's the discipline and the planning aspect of it that can be really helpful. And I see that the course really brought that in for all three of you as well. In line with that, I do want to ask, and it's something that all of you have slightly touched upon already. How did the course really help you in structuring your ideas a bit more clearly or a bit more creatively as well? Was there any specific activity, task, or any discussion that you undertook in the classroom itself that actually really helped you unlock your ideas or really understand that, yeah, this is how I want to write about this? Elena, maybe you would want to get us started?
I remember in the second session, which we had with our teaching fellow, she started off by asking us what our favorite Disney character was. And it wasn't a question which I thought, the code it would start with. But of course, we all listed our favorite characters. And then she said, okay, well, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to analyze them and write down a list of their qualities which you feel they possess. And I was intrigued, but we did that. And then we had to actually explain why we chose those qualities to represent them. And it wasn't a very easy process because um, I don't think it's very evident how difficult it is. It's very easy to say that a person is motivated. It's very easy to say that a person is kind or ambitious or something like that. But then how do you prove it? Why do you have this sort of, viewpoint or perspective regarding that person? And so, but with a lot of thought, with a lot of gentle nudges along the way, we managed to get that out of the way. And then I actually remember a person in our cohort asking RTF why we were undertaking this activity. And then she responded that, you know, it's the beginning of a process of knowing how to analyze, of knowing how to correlate. So you see, when we did this exercise with the Disney characters, we were unconsciously teaching ourselves how to subject ourselves to that same analysis, to almost, cynically or clinically pick ourselves apart, our achievements, our character traits, our virtues, and find ways to correlate them with our achievements, find ways to tell our story in ways that would resonate with the admissions officers without us seeming like we were promoting ourselves. And the last way I would have expected to learn how to do that was through Disney. But I think it just showed how innovative the course was, how dedicated the course was to discovering innovative ways to get us to actually enjoy the process and to engage with it better. Because I'm at least for our generation, a huge demographic is are avid fans of Disney. We've grown up on Disney. And so what better way to actually engage us than bringing in Disney into the conversation while ensuring that we were learning what we needed to learn. So I found it amazing. It was one of my favorite activities. And it was a series of activities. In the first one, we had the characters, then we had to rewrite some Disney songs in ways we felt could be better suited to admissions processes. So it was fabulous. I loved it.
I think it's very exciting to see that we can actually turn towards pop culture to learn very essential skills of analysis, of breaking down what a character really represents, what it comes to represent as to not only us, but to others as well. So, learning how to look at it from a double view of sorts. And lastly, to use that skill on yourself. So, in some ways, the activity built upon each other as well to make things a bit easier. It's always a bit easier to break apart someone who's going to be at a distance, a character. When it comes to you personally, I think that's when the challenge really gets very hard. But if you build upon it, I think that can be a very seamless process. Reet, maybe you would like to share what was your favorite activity from your cohort?
To add on to what Elena said, it was definitely that Disney Princess one. We had actually sent Ursula to law school. She got a double major in psychology and law, but that's not what helped me in structuring. For me, that activity was more about finding exactly what I wanted to do to understand myself. But for structuring, I believe it was the last day of our class where we had done our final essays. So before our final essays, we had written an entire structure of our essays, where how our first paragraph was going to be, second paragraph, third paragraph. And I am not somebody who structures my essay. I just sort of sit hoping the words will flow out. And while that usually always works out for me, that is not going to happen in college essays because you have like a 500 word limit maximum in like the best case scenarios. And you cannot just go for like creative thought when you have its particular word limit. So I knew I had to sort of know how to structure my essays because I would really get lost. Like, I keep moving on from point to point and I would forget the first point I started off with. So that was the activity that helped me the most. We structured our entire essay, our introduction, our body, our conclusion. It wasn't even just structuring. We had to write the exact quotes we were going to use, the exact experiences we were going to use, what paragraph comprised of what. Everything was very clearly written down. And it's tough to start an essay because you expect to be good, right? But it's not tough to start a structure. In a structure, you're just writing down what you already know. You're just penning your thoughts down. It's not an essay, but it gives you the exact base of your essay. So when you have a structure, you know exactly what to write in your essay, which means you won't be scared about the start. Once you know where to start, you can start. And you don't have to be scared about writing a structure. It's just a structure, you can change it. So that was the most important activity for me because it taught me how to structure. Now, I'm still not somebody who writes it all down, but I do create mind maps in my mind. So I was part of the Albert Barrow essay competition, and like at first I would have just started writing, but this time I sat for like 5 10 minutes. I structured the entire essay in my mind, what points I was going to use, where I was going to change my argument, and I got AIR 5. So it was a really big deal for me because I am not somebody who does really well in academic essays per se. I was always more of a prose or poetry sort of a person, but to get fifth rank in India, and that was mainly because I knew how to structure my essay. I always have the points, but to know where and how to put them down is very important. And that is what structuring gives you. And I feel that is the key most important step in all of your essays because you already know who you are, you know your achievements, you know what you want to write, you know your subject, you understand yourself. That part is all taken care of. But to actually know where to put what, that is very important. So you should all structure, just write down a couple of points and not just a big idea. The structuring has to be very particular in what paragraph you're going to put what, because that also helps you with your word count. That helps to prioritize. You can have like 100 different experiences, but you can only put 2 to 3 application. So you know what is more important and what you can prioritize, and you end up putting that. So that really helped me out, and that's helping me out right now with my application too. Obviously, it's still a tough process writing the essay. It has to be amazing, but it has helped me tremendously. I would definitely recommend structuring.
I think through your answer, we're able to see the value that comes with planning out a structure, whether it be in written format or just taking some time out to think what you really want to communicate with your essay as well. And I think these are practices that stick with us for longer. Anya, would you like to share what was your favorite activity?
Yes, definitely. So I think my favorite activity was either in the third or fourth session. We had to create a mind map. So this was basically based on the class we had had before. So we had to choose a value and then we had to tell about our experiences around that value. And then basically what other values we developed while experiencing that. So, the reason I personally loved this activity was because it really helped me change the way I see myself. So, I feel like, especially for our generation, a lot of people they struggle with self confidence and we overthink a lot, especially me. I'm a huge overthinker. So, just jotting down my experiences and, my achievements and what I learned from it, what the values I developed through it made me see myself in another light. It's actually what I go back to every time I want to start something new, but I kind of doubt myself. So it really has helped me alleviate the way I see myself, and it's helped me start a lot of other projects, not just writing a book.
I can see a lot of commonality in how some of these activities really, helped you out in some things that y'all were personally struggling with. So I think for Elena, it was maybe bringing in or bridging pop culture and reflecting upon yourself. For Reed, it was the structuring. And for Anya as well, to know where to start from, I think really gave you the confidence that you needed. So it's exciting to see how the course ends up having varied takeaways for all of you as well. Um, Along the same lines, so I do want to tap into the journey that you all undertook during the course. So, did you see any evolution of your confidence from day one until the time that you created the final draft? Deet, maybe you want to start us off this time around?
I'm going to be honest. I started off being very confident in my writing skills. By the middle, I was like, oh my god, I do not know how to write. So it was a downwards graph because I knew that, okay, I'm a good writer, I have one of words. But the amount of reality checks I got during the course was insane. Nancy ma'am kept on humbling me like every 2 minutes. So I sort of knew that, okay, I'm not as good as I believe I am. And that was very important for me because I constantly win awards, right? But that sort of gets to your head a bit. And you have to, especially in writing, if you feel like you're good, that's not going to be good for you because you won't improve your writing skills and you won't work on it. So for me, first draft was the last draft. Like before I joined the course, I would just write it. That was be it, done. But I realized that is not how it's supposed to be done because um I would keep getting those reality checks, especially when I saw my peers and their essays were so great. There was somebody with us, Zoya, I believe, and she had amazing essays. Like she had one about Harry Potter, and I loved it so much. And then our professor said that is not good at all, and I was like, that is not good. That is better than I can ever write. And that really sort of gives you a reality check because you realize you're not as good as you think you are, but that's where you start to become better. So the exact moment I realized, okay, I have to improve. You have to make sure you take that check as more of an improvement instead of feeling hopeless and in despair. Know that you have to improve from here and on. And I started reading more essays I found online about acceptance, like IB acceptance essays and etc. So it really helped me out because after that, I was very conscious of every word I wrote. Like everything I wrote, I knew it was going to be analyzed and we were going to do it in class. So it had to be very important and it had to actually be good. So my confidence fell after I joined the course, but it was actually rebuilt afterwards because it was actually new. Okay, now I'm improving. So even right now, I won't call myself a good writer anymore. I would say that I am right. And I hope some people like it. I will not go as far as not to call myself a great writer. I just hope that yes, if I'm writing something, people appreciate it, people like it. That is it for me. And I feel that is very important because you need to know that it's a very, very competitive world, right? There are going to be writers 10, 15 times better than you competing for the same universities as you. So you need to have an accurate idea of your skill. Only then can you actually improve. If you have an inflated sense of your skill, it's not really going to work out. So this course was very important for me because I had to realize that I was lacking somewhere. And the best part, it wasn't just a realization, they actually helped me complete that lacking. So like the parts where I was weak or the parts where I wasn't able to write well, they didn't just make me realize that I couldn't write well, but I was helped throughout the duration of the course to actually supplement those weak parts and to be able to write better. So I do believe at the end of the course, my confidence, I had different sort of a confidence. I was definitely improved in my writing, and I would definitely say that it was a really it was a funny journey because I did not expect to be brought down this fast, but I loved every bit of it. It was great because sometimes you do need that reality check, but you also need somebody to help you after that check, and that is exactly what this course provided me. Especially the group of the TA and the professor, they worked so well together. Nancy ma'am would give us a reality check, and then our TA, she would help us out. She would give us sort of like the boost that it's okay, you're doing great, good job, and we need that. It was a great mix and I loved it so much.
I think it's incredible to hear that you've taken some of the feedback and some of the things that can be very hard hitting in such a positive way as well, and that you were supported throughout that. I think sometimes it's really helpful to actually receive that at an early on stage instead of it being so that you go in with your assumptions and then you're receiving feedback in a space where you can't really feel supported. I'm very excited to hear what Elena has to say for the same.
I remember we started out the first session of the course with um, Nancy ma'am displaying an essay, which I thought was a brilliant essay because the person had decided to use Spotify playlists in order to structure their entire essay, so that each of their achievements was linked to a specific song on their Spotify playlist. I thought it was brilliant, and almost instantly my confidence went from here to here because I felt, oh goodness, this is the standard we're being set to. And then Nancy ma'am tells us, this isn't a good essay. And we stare at her and we say, what, really? Because all of us were floored. And then she said, you know, admissions officers don't really care about the frills. They don't really care about, how flowery your language is or how beautiful the thing might seem. They're going to go beyond that and get to the core of it and see if what you're saying is very clear and see if what you're saying is actually going to be of any importance to them. And so throughout the duration of that course, I was thinking, my greatest strength is flowery writing. My greatest strength is writing where I can wax a bit lyrical and poetic. I don't think I'm going to fare very well. But then, as we went through the course, we had lots of different activities where uh, we were shown different essays and we were asked to piece apart those essays. We were asked to take them apart, and we were asked one main question at the end of it, that if you were an admissions officer, would this essay stand out to you? Would you feel that this candidate was worthy of being accepted into your university? And um and then uh we had a lot of hitches during the process because especially I am very used to uh, beginning with a bit of an elaborate introduction and then sort of going a bit round, beating around the bush a little bit. But all of that was brutally taken apart because the first sample essay which I did, Nancy ma'am told me that this is a good read for for a person who's seeking to maybe read a poetry book or a storybook, but I can tell you this will not get you through your dream university. And truth be told, I was pretty crushed after that feedback because um, I think what Reed said is true. When you've been writing for a while and you begin to think that you possess certain abilities, to have someone actually show you the mirror and tell you very candidly that, look, you might have the abilities, but are those abilities actually going to help you? It becomes very helpful. It's brutal at first, it hurts because criticism is not something which we as human beings like to internalize or take very objectively at first, but it helps when someone is actually explaining to you why they are giving you that criticism, and they are explaining to you that, you see, it's not a judgment of you as a writer, but it is a judgment of your work. And when I'm criticizing your work, I'm not criticizing you as a writer, but that particular piece of writing. And so then towards the end of the course, once I had actually settled in accordance with that rhythm, once I had managed to actually cut out all the frills at first and then just be able to plan what I actually wanted at the core of my essay, I found the process much more not as nerve-wracking as it was. I found myself thinking that um, it it's really not as bad as I thought it would be. I'm not going to fare as badly as I did. And then later, of course, it was a great, I think, reward for me. I got a letter of academic achievement at the end of the course. And I reached out to both my faculty and my TF to thank them. And they told me that, well, you've actually shown that growth curve throughout the course. And it's important to show that growth curve because it means you are growing as a person and subsequently you're growing as a writer, which helped me produce an essay which was satisfactory to me. I will say satisfactory. Like Reed said, I will not say good because there's always scope for improvement. And something which I feel is going to convince people of me and show them who I am as a person to get my message across. So the course was really helpful in that way.
I think it's insightful to see or hear that both of you kind of had a journey where it started off with the breaking down of confidence and then slowly being supported to a point where it starts feeling a lot more real and internal, where you now have a lot more confidence in your abilities to not only write, but to be able to be a fair judge to yourself as well. And I'm very excited to see what Anya has to share for the same.
Right. So at the start of the course, actually, it was pretty much a lot like the opposite for me than it was for Reed and Elena. Um, I was never too confident about my writing, and I was especially always tensed about the way I would write my college essays because we've all seen videos about people telling you that they have to be really, really unique. Like your essay can be the make or break for whether you get into your dream university. And I was always conscious about that because even if I write about my passion for the university, there may be like 1,000 other people doing the same. The course, I had some confidence in myself, but as we went through the course, that kind of kept on building. So I think that's because I could see myself improving with each and every activity and with like each and every draft of my essay. There was this one essay we saw that was about this person writing about Tolkien and how, how much their love is for classic books. And I think that essay really spoke out to me and it resonated with me, it like as a person. And I was like, yes, that's the kind of essay I want to write. And I think that's what I had kept in mind when I started forming my final draft. It's also what I think of when I was writing my book. And honestly, it's really helped me. Like I've gotten to learn so many things and they've really helped me improve in a way that I know I have improved. So it helped me build confidence in myself. I still won't say that I'm a great writer, I'm a good writer, but I know I am a better writer than I was before, which is kind of what it's all about because there's always going to be people better than you. You just need to compete with yourself. And I think this course really helped me with it. And I think I was really happy with my final draft because I know that at the start of the course, I could not have written something like that. But seeing other essays, seeing the way people wrote, it made me realize that I can actually write well because I was someone who could not write flowery writing. Like unlike Elena, I usually just wrote content and then it got really tedious. So I think the course really made me like realize that it's okay if your words aren't too descriptive as long as you get the point and passion across to the reader. And that's exactly what I did in my essay. And I was honestly really happy with the way I'd improved through the course. And I would definitely recommend it.
I think it's very interesting to see how the journey can be really different as well, where you come in with a lot of doubts, but through the feedback and through the different activities, you're actually able to build upon that confidence and come to a point where you're just competing with yourself, which I think is a very good approach to have. With this, I would now like to open the floor up for any questions that any of our attendees may have for the panel or about the course as a whole. I do have one more question for everyone, but that's something that I'll park for later in the interest of time. So please turn to the chat box. You can also raise your hand and we can actually make it to be so that you can ask the question live. But I'd be really excited to hear what you have to ask them. Hi, Tavishi.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Tavishi and I'm speaking from Gurugram. So, while listening to the conversation, I had one question to ask that when I sit down to write, I have my points in mind, but when I start writing in middle, I just freeze and I don't know what to write next. I've seen this a lot of writers face this. So, how if you have faced these problems, how do you get the inspiration to write back from where you have left?
So I'll take this question first and then I'll open it up for the panel if one of you would like to add on. I think it's a very familiar problem to face where you're actually, coming across a flow of ideas and then you hit a blockade and then you're just wondering, how do I get back to this? Like this one particular section looks good. I know I want to build upon this, but I don't know how to continue forward. You may even have a structure in place for how you want to continue, but it becomes a challenge to actually put pen to paper and have that ready. And I think that challenge is in itself a part of the creative process as well. You do need some time for your ideas to incubate so that you can actually then build upon them a bit more refined. I think taking some time away is always helpful. That's something that's worked for me. Secondly, I think it's also a hint at that the structuring or the planning could have been a bit more elaborate. Perhaps there could have been more time spent on what you want to achieve with the entire essay instead of thinking of that these are the points that I want to start with and then moving forward. Because when you have an entire structure in place and you know what is the story or the point you want to communicate with your essay, then I think it's a bit easier to take the breaks and to fulfill each section individually. And lastly, I think this is a very good point where you can actually ask for more feedback. When you actually get the chance to discuss the essay with someone else, I think that's when you can really build upon things. Trying to do things in isolation becomes a little bit more challenging at times. Would either of you want to add on to this? But in the interest of time, I will be only able to take one person to answer.
I think I'd like to answer this if I may. Um,
Yeah,
so
go ahead. Yeah.
So this is something I experience as well. I think writer's block is something which is common to all of us when we sit down to write. But there are two things which particularly help me. One is, of course, when you reach a blockade point, to just go back, to just rewind a bit and read through what you've already written. Often, when you read through what you've already written and reread it, it gives you an idea for how you would want the flow or the thread to continue. So that helps for one. But what helps even more, again, of course, building upon what Isha ma'am said, is structuring the essay, is having specific guidelines for every paragraph that you want to write. One advice we were given during the course is that you should be able to describe each paragraph of your essay in 1 or 2 words, and it works the other way around as well. Suppose you list, when you're planning your essay, which is the most important stage, you make a list of words which describe each of the paragraphs, words or phrases which describe each of the paragraphs of your essay. And then when you get stuck, you read through that word or phrase and try to then structure or write centering that word or phrase, making it the focal point of your paragraph. Then you reread that paragraph and see if it actually matches that phrase. If it does, you'll know that your objective has been achieved and you will be able to go on with the rest of your essay. So that might help.
Thank you, Isha ma'am. Thank you, Elena.
Ma'am, I think you're on mute.
Thank you so much. Today seems to be filled with tech issues or some silly mistakes like this one. I wanted to say that thank you so much, Alina, for your answer. And I think that was an excellent question to raise as well, right? Writer's block is something that all of us face. In interest of that, I also did want to share about our series on Instagram, which is Writer's Block. I've shared a link for it in the same. One moment. You can actually check this out as well, where you get feedback from a lot of different people, which is going to be ranging from admissions officers to professors who've been working in the writing centers to students who have done the course, students who have submitted their essays. And I think those tips and tricks can really help you out as well. I can see that we also have a question in the chat box. So I think we have Aditi asking, how do you tackle dealing with the discomfort of talking about yourself in a way that's appealing and self-confident without verging on narcissism? I would say that this was a question that was in some ways answered by all three of them, where constantly they received the feedback of how, it needs to not just be flowery language, it needs to be your experiences. But secondly, it's that you show, you don't tell about your achievements, because otherwise it's going to start seeming like you're just listing down things that you've done. A very popular advice that I've often gotten is that your CV needs to be very different from your personal essay. Your personal essay is not supposed to be your resume. It doesn't need to list everything you've done. So it's actually the process of selection that ends up being very important in determining whether it's going to be speaking of your story, or is it speaking just the achievements that you've had. But some of the most interesting college essays that we've come across often don't even end up alluding to anything academic that they have achieved, but rather it ends up demonstrating the research mindset that they may have in place, their motivation behind wanting to pursue something, and also tapping into why particularly this university. I think these are some questions that they're able to answer without touching upon any of the achievements, because your application is also something that's being looked at holistically. It's not just the essay that's being looked at in isolation. But I also want to open the floor up to Reet or Anya if you have any additions to make for the same.
If I may.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of college essays, I feel like one way to showcase your achievements is to I feel like it's to be completely authentic. So basically, in a college essay, what you can't be listing down your achievements, but you can be telling about experiences that led to those achievements. So that I feel like would really work, and that's kind of worked for me as well. So basically, challenges that you faced or opportunities that you had, so I think that stuff like that can leading to what made you achieve something can really show not just your achievement to the college, to the the people who are admitting you, but also they're gonna show how those experiences shaped you, and they're going to get an idea of who you are as a person, which I feel like is really important. When writing a college essay, that's kind of what the university is going to be, looking for, that who you are as a person.
I think that's an excellent point, Anya. People are more interested in you and your story rather than they are in listing down all of the achievements. Other achievements end up being quite an essential part of it, yes, because I think they're part of your story, but not because that's what admissions officers are looking for. I think that's been two incredible questions that we've been asked. In the interest of time, since I know that we're at 12 already, I do want to say that if you have any more doubts or questions, firstly, you can always reach out to us on our email ID. But secondly, to plug in the course here, I think the best way for you to get all of these answers and to really learn would be to do the course yourself as well. I think all three of them, Elena, Reet, and Anya, have had a great trajectory after doing the course, and we've been able to see the live testimony of how it's really impacted their writing journey. And also their journey as a whole, because writing ends up being a skill that's very important for universities in general. So, for one of the things that I would recommend is that you enroll today itself, because we do have our deadline approaching on December 1st. I also wanted to invite anyone who may have any questions about the course as a whole. You can also check out the page that we've shared in the chat box where you can read more about the course and the learning outcomes and anything else that you may need to know to complete your or make your decision. But I wanted to open the floor up for any other questions that anyone may have. Please feel free to raise your hand and we'd actually be happy to have you talk to us as well. I'll wait for 1 minute so that we are in this awkward silence while we wait for people to think over any questions that they may have. But I do want to allow for that possibility to be there. While we wait, I'll open the floor up for Elena, Reet, and Anya to say any last words or any last guidance that you may have for any student who may be considering this course. Elena, maybe you want to start us off?
I think my advice would be that when you start the course, it's best not to start with any predetermined ideas of what exactly you feel the course should be like, because it's important to keep in mind that experiences are very subjective. So the experience which I had with the course, or Reed, or Anya, or our individual trajectories um, have a greater chance of not being what your individual trajectories would look like. But it is very important to do this course, not just because you want to write a standout college application essay, but because the tips and tricks you receive during this course, the the process of analyzing yourself, the process of structuring your writing, the process of creating a streamlined writing experience for yourself is something which is going to be helpful at every stage of life, because especially in the world we live in now, where um, your ability to express yourself in a form or an application, your ability to showcase who you are as a person and judge yourself as a person becomes very important. So I would say do the course, take be an active participant, ask a lot of questions. We asked a lot of questions, seek a lot of feedback, go through all of the sample essays which are sent, and just have fun, because it's going to be one of the most memorable experiences you've ever had, I can guarantee.
That's very heartwarming to hear, Elena. Anya, do you want to go next?
Yes, definitely. So, I would also like to state that throughout the course, you'll be learning a lot of these stuff. You'll be improving as a writer itself, and you'll get an idea of what college essays should look like. But for it to be completely fruitful, you do need to be mindful to apply the skills you learn after the course itself. So, whenever next time you pick up a pen and paper to start writing, or when you start typing, just remember the skills you've learned, the values you've learned. Like, the most important was show, not tell. And I think even like a year and a half later, that's still in my mind. And that's hopefully forever going to be on my mind whenever I'm going to try to write something. But also to just, as Elena said, have fun, because that was hands down one of the best experiences I have had till now, and I still keep in touch with few of the people I met during the course.
That's incredible to hear that I think you've been able to make connections that have continued till now. And lastly, Reet, would you like to share any last words for anyone considering the course?
I would say definitely go for it. If you found even like 0.1% of clarity in this webinar right now, you will find a lot of it in the course. Like, we're just giving you remnants of what we learned, but those are actual professors who do this on a daily basis. You can be interacting with somebody who grades multiple essays every day. Like, you have somebody you have the person like this. It cannot get better than this. This is the best way if you're ever struggling with your essay, because it cannot get easier than this. Like, you have it right in front of you. You just have to avail it. It is right there. And trust me, it helps you out so much. Like, it's not even in the obvious ways. Like, obviously, you improve your essay. That's a very small part of it. You learn so much more. You actually learn how to interact with your peers, how to interact with people you're going to be meeting in college. especially if you're in 12th right now, this is a very important step, which I feel like you should be taking. Definitely go for it. Know that you might not start with good essays, but at the end of it, you will definitely have a good essay, or at least 10, 15 times better than what you started with. So, know it's a process, but that process is going to be great, and you guaranteed will have good end results if you go for the course. Because I mean, I'm in touch with a lot of people from the course, and everybody is doing so well when it comes to writing. Like, we've all improved so much, like drastic levels. So I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's there. One very important reason is you get an idea of your peers who are applying for the same universities as you are, and you also realize you're all in the same boat. Like, we're also intimidated by the idea of essays and college applications, but we're all 12th graders, right? We have the same prompt, we all have the same mindset. So you will be less intimidated and be more prepared, and it cannot be better than this. Like, it's gonna really help you out. So definitely go for it. It helped me out so much. It helped both of them out so much. Please go for it. This is going to be a major step for your college application, because essays are very important, and you learn a lot of skills way beyond essays, in fact, if you go for the course. So I would definitely recommend it to everybody.
Thank you so much, Elena, Anya, and Reet, for joining us today and sharing all of your journeys and insights after the course. I think we've been very grateful to be able to hear some of the major takeaways that you've had and how it's helped you guide other people as well. And lastly, I think it's really heartwarming to see that the course has had such an impact that you recommend it to other people as well. So I hope that this has been meaningful for everyone who's joined us this Saturday morning. Thank you so much for all of your time, and I hope that you have a great day ahead. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye bye.